If you like the video, make a drink and subscribe to the channel.
At this year's Paris Motor Show, the world received its first glimpse of the new 508 SW. Measuring 4,790 millimeters in length, the estate is 40 millimeters longer than its saloon counterpart, this extension largely being concentrated at the rear, while the row-off line is some 17 millimeters taller. It's also porkier to the tune of 40 kilograms. This minor swelling of the 508's proportions has obviously been induced to increase the amount of usable boot space. Because an estate with a smaller boot than its saloon sibling would be a bit of a pointless exercise, wouldn't it? The load bay floor is now 25 millimeters longer than the saloon's, and seat sup capacity has been increased from 487 liters to 530 liters. Which to Peugeot's credit is more than you get from a BMW 3 Series Touring 495 liters or Mercedes C-Class Estate 490 liters. Collapse the second row, and you'll liberate up to 1780 liters. There is going to be a price to pay for this extra flexibility, mind, and while exact figures are yet to be confirmed for the UK, Peugeot has said a £1,600 premium over the comfortable saloon is probably in the right ballpark. So for this 178 bhp, GT Line petrol model, which is expected to be the most popular variant back in Britain, you're going to be looking at a before options price of £32,830 or thereabouts. What's it like? Suitably plush and visually appealing, in the exact same slightly alternative but refreshing manner the saloon is. Peugeot's iCockpit originally got a bit of a kicking when it first started appearing in the smaller 208 Superman I and 3008 SUV, but in the 508 it just seems to work. There's no shortage of adjustability in either the driver's seat or steering column, and you can position yourself much lower down in the cabin than you could in those aforementioned rangemates. The dainty steering wheel makes for easy viewing of the 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, which is itself graphically rich and easy to read. There's no squinting required here. Peugeot has selected a fairly choice range of interior trim treatments for this GT Line model, too, with wood paneling on the center console and dash fascia looking especially classy, if not particularly pleasing to the touch. The roofline's growth spurt means there's now a comfortable amount of headroom in the rear, too. Even relatively lofty individuals shouldn't experience much in the way of discomfort here, although the same trick hasn't been pulled with regards to legroom. Unfortunately, this is still just as tight as it is in the saloon. Still, for a family with 2, perhaps 3 kids to cart about, the 508 SW more than passes muster. And that's certainly no bad thing, because the elongated pug is still just as tidy to drive as ever. There's an impressive suppleness about the manner in which the 508 SW's McPherson strut front and multi-link rear suspension deals with undulating road topography. Compressions are progressive and comfortably cushioned, while vertical travel in the opposite direction is kept closely under control over crests, too. Select Sport Mode and optional adaptive dampers tighten up the Peugeot's body control even further, whilst also sharpening throttle response and adding a more athletic amount of weight to the steering. That steering is suitably quick off-center, too, and lends the car a reassuring sense of agility. While I wouldn't go so far as to say the 508 SW feels like a genuinely entertaining car, even on the twisting coastal roads that made up our Portuguese test route, the additional handling confidence Sport Mode seems to instill in the car's chassis is by all means welcome. It's pretty tidy out on the motorway, too. Comfort Mode adds an even greater degree of cushioning to the 508's already pliant ride, while the 1.6-liter 4-pot ticks away in an impressively urbane fashion. That motor lends the Peugeot a respectable turn of pace, too, pulling enthusiastically in from 2,500 RPM. It's shaping up to be quite an enticing package, this. But that's not to say its ointment is entirely fly-free. The 8-speed automatic transmission, for instance, is a bit too eager to revert back to shifting gears itself after you've tugged one of the pedals, even in sport. And while there is a dedicated manual setting, it's accessed through its own drive mode. so you lose the benefit of the sharper powertrain response and improved body control if you want to exercise total authority over the gearbox. That said, those who like to tow things behind their D-segment estate, there will likely be quite a few of them, will find manual mode useful for reining the Peugeot's speed in when traveling downhill. Having driven the 508 saloon in the UK, I'm also inclined to believe the SW might be afflicted by the same at times crashy secondary ride. Although on smooth Portuguese roads these intrusions didn't seem quite as pronounced. That might also have something to do with our test car's smaller 18-in alloys. Should I buy one? In the same way I was a fan of the 508 saloon, so too am I fond of the estate. Even more so, in fact, because as a visual exercise I think it's excellent. Of course, there are more well-rounded and dynamically engaging estates out there. We have pretty high hopes for the new 3 Series Touring. And there are certainly more affordable ones, too. But as a left-field alternative to the likes of the Audi A4 Avant and Mercedes C-Class estate et al., the Peugeot will certainly have its fans. Peugeot 508 SW PureTech 180 GT line. Where Portugal price £32,830 est on sale June 2019 engine 1598cc, 4 sills. Turbocharged petrol power 178 bhp at 5,500 rpm, torque 184 pounds-foot at 1650 rpm, gearbox 8-speed automatic, curb weight 1460 kilograms, top speed 140 miles per hour, 0-62 miles per hour, 8.0 seconds, fuel economy 52.3 mpg CO2, tax band 125 grams/kilometers. 26% rivals BMW 3 Series Touring, Audi A4 Avant, Volkswagen Passat estate.